Imagine for a moment an existence of solitude spanning 101,217 years, not a soul to speak to or a single means of communication. Your mind would undoubtedly wither. And what if that mind had already suffered immense trauma and physical transfer? Such was the case for poor Chakas, or as you may know him, 343 Guilty Spark. Hey guys, how are you? In today's video I'd like to go over the life of 343 Guilty Spark, including his human past, part in the original Flood War, and much more. Without further ado, let's begin. A very long time ago, a human named Chakas was born on a planet called Eridae Tyrene, later known as Earth. He was eventually met by a foreigner named Born Stellar Makes Eternal Lasting, or B-Mail for short. B-Mail was tired of his structured life in the caste system of the Forerunners. The two of them crossed paths as B-Mail came to Earth in search for treasure. Before he knew it, Chakas was caught up in B-Mail's imminent future. The Flood was encroaching on Forerunner worlds, and meanwhile there were many other things happening. Species were being indexed for future repopulation, the Halo Rings were being constructed, and Forerunner AIs were being consumed and corrupted by the Logic Plague, best described as a technological flood infection. This Logic Plague was spread by a creature called the Primordial. The Primordial was an abomination of a creature, the last of a race predating the Forerunners known as the Precursors. These precursors were wiped out by the Forerunners in an earlier war across the universe. As a final, latent means of revenge, the precursors ground themselves into dust, predicting this dust would likely be tested on living creatures, which would then give them new life. This would be the Flood. Soon after the Primordial was released from his stasis, he had taken over many minds and machines, including one such Forerunner in Scylla called Mendicant Bias. This was a contender-class AI, one of the best the Forerunners could create. With his help, the Primordial made it to Installation 7, a Halo Ring which he would then attempt to use against the Forerunners. Eventually, both Chakas and B-Mail would come across the other duo. The Primordial was such a disturbingly powerful creature who knew so many secrets about life that, when its first discoverers pried for this knowledge, they subsequently killed themselves. They could not handle what they had learned. Chakas was subject to the same torment, as well as physical damage brought on by the ensuing battle. As they retook control of the ring, B-Mail salvaged the mind and personality of Chakas and gave him new life as a monitor, and along with this new life came new responsibility. Chakas was appointed as a record keeper and personal assistant to the librarian. At his request, the librarian allowed him to monitor the humans that remained on the Greater Ark, not to be confused with the Lesser Ark we visit in Halo 3. Eventually, the Flood attacked the Greater Ark, and Chakas had to save as many living specimens as possible. He was then sent to Omega Halo, one of the original 12 rings. There he saw the Ur-Didact, a Forerunner figurehead and husband to the librarian, use a device called the Composer to digitize the lives of hundreds of thousands of humans. This was done in efforts to build an army with which to attack the Flood, but was also done in vengeance for the earlier Human-Forerunner War, and was seen as a major disgrace by many. Chakas was sent with B-Mail to take the remaining humans to the Lesser Ark in a last-ditch effort to save the species. Before their final parting, Chakas the Monitor was designated 343 Guilty Spark by his friend B-Mail. He was asked a question then by B-Mail. Should we fire the rings? This question would haunt Guilty Spark for hundreds of thousands of years spent in solitude. He was assigned a final post monitoring Installation 4, or Alpha Halo by human designation. During this period, Guilty Spark longed for company and began to fall prey to rampancy, a mental corruption. Other installations had all seized communications, and his connection to the domain, the Forerunner mental internet for lack of a better description, was cut. He began testing the ring's functions out of boredom, firing it once after simulating it 1 trillion times, and releasing atmosphere in certain segments. Guilty Spark had a moment to chance an encounter with other sentients when in 40,000 BCE, an unknown species crash-landed on the ring. Its origins were never discovered, and due to lack of record, its ongoing distress signal was never translated. In accordance with ancient policy, Guilty Spark ended up sealing the ship instead of attempting to enter. It took immeasurable patience. After a total of 101,217 years of isolation, Guilty Spark was alerted to an incoming vessel, one containing Reclaimers, the designation for humans who were supposed to inherit the mantle of responsibility, or care for all sentient life in the galaxy. This vessel was the Pillar of Autumn. Following the Pillar of Autumn was the fleet of Particular Justice, headed by Thel 'Vadam, later known as the Arbiter. By mistake, the Covenant from this fleet unleashed the Flood from containment and research sectors. It soon was discovered by the Master Chief, who then crossed paths with none other than Guilty Spark.
Greetings. I am the monitor of Installation 04. I am 343 Guilty Spark. Someone has released the Flood. My function is to prevent it from leaving this installation, but I require your assistance. Come, this way.
Guilty Spark, in his rampant confusion, believed all of his knowledge of the past must be shared with the Chief. He led the Master Chief to find the Index, the device that would activate the Halo and destroy all sentient life in that portion of the galaxy. The Master Chief was unaware of what exactly the ring was capable of, and upon returning to the control room, was scolded and edified by Cortana.
Is it true?
More or less. Technically, this installation's pulse has a maximum effective radius of 25,000 light years. But once the others follow suit, this galaxy will be quite devoid of life. Or at least any life with sufficient biomass to sustain the flood. But you already knew that. I mean, how couldn't you?
Left out that little detail, did he?
We have followed outbreak containment procedure to the letter. You were with me each step of the way as we managed this crisis.
Chief, I'm picking up movement.
Why would you hesitate to do what you've already done?
We need to go. Right now.
Last time you asked me, if it were my choice, would I do it? Having had considerable time to ponder your query, my answer has not changed. There is no choice. We must activate the ring.
Get us out of here.
If you are unwilling to help, I will simply find another. Still, I must have the Index. Give your construct to me, or I will be forced to take her from you.
That's not going to happen.
So be it. Save his head. Dispose of the rest.
The Master Chief would not fire the ring. As Guilty Spark had mostly lost his mind and finally found new purpose, he wasn't having that. He tried to kill the Chief in hopes to save Cortana and pry the Index from her possession in order to complete the firing. It didn't work, however, and Cortana would keep this Index until Halo 3's events. Master Chief and Cortana blew up the now-defunct Pillar of Autumn in the hopes of destroying the ring and the local flood infestation. It worked, but also simultaneously wasted over 100,000 years of Guilty Spark's tormenting time caring for the installation. After Installation 4's destruction, Guilty Spark sought out a Covenant group at a gas mining facility above Threshold, a nearby gas giant. He taught them of the truth of Halo's purpose, spawning a heretic rebellion and later being captured by the Covenant. With the monitor in hand, the leaders of the Covenant directly asked how to activate and use the Halos. They were told of the Index and its location on Delta Halo. Both the humans and the Covenant were after it, but the Covenant were the ones who succeeded. Eventually, things came to a head in the control room of the installation, where the ring was activated but stopped just in the nick of time, prompting all remaining installations for remote activation from the Lesser Ark. Guilty Spark joined the newly allied Covenant forces and made it to the town of Voy on Earth, where the portal to the Ark was located. The Master Chief found a remnant of Cortana, which Guilty Spark repaired. Following her message, the Chief and Guilty Spark went with many others through the portal to the Lesser Ark. Eventually the Flood followed, prompting the Master Chief, Sergeant Johnson, the Arbiter, and Guilty Spark to prepare a newly formed Halo ring, which was created from the Ark's central forge as a replacement for the one you destroyed in Halo 1, for activation. 343 Guilty Spark was immediately attacked with the ring and did not receive the news of a planned premature firing well. He killed Sergeant Johnson, as he didn't want to lose anything else in his long, tragic life. In response, the Master Chief killed 343 Guilty Spark with Johnson's Spartan laser, or so he thought. Following the ring's activation, fragments of 343 Guilty Spark were jettisoned into space, and found later by the UNSC Rubicon. He spoke his story to the crew, then took control of their system and put them to sleep, and rebuilt himself as an Armiger, one of the humanoid foreigner Prometheans. He then sent off in search for the Librarian. Drawing on ancient knowledge and the only plan he could hope to create, his initial plan was to visit Etrin Harborage, a shield world he thought to still be intact. In actuality, it had been destroyed by the UNSC Spirit of Fire. Instead, the Rubicon lost control and crash-landed onto a planet called Garanos A. With parts of the ship salvaged from its original mission on the Ark, Guilty Spark built his new Armiger form. The crew all passed away in their sleep, however, due to the crash, and Guilty Spark buried them in a mass grave. After this, he sent a distress signal. The salvage ship Ace of Spades, headed by Ryan Forge, found him. Guilty Spark offered to help the crew find their stolen salvage in exchange for assistance in his search for the Librarian. Eventually, he found a remainder of her on Earth beneath Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa. Guilty Spark also then told Ryan Forge of her father's heroic sacrifice on Etrin Harborage. The Librarian convinced Guilty Spark of what he had not yet realized. The crew of the Ace of Spades were now his friends, and after only 100,000 years, she also gave him a key of sorts with which to push humans further on their path to reclamation. If the clues aren't obvious, the story is not yet over, but Guilty Spark was finally lonely no more, and I look forward to his future journeys. Hey guys, thanks for watching. It was really fun to get to do a video over my favorite Halo character. If you enjoyed, why not like and subscribe? It goes a long way. That's all I got. See you next time.